world. So this is my first live stream in a while, and I cannot talk for long because, so first of all, just a few things to say. I have no internet or cell phone service because my stupid husband cut it off, even though it's part of our divorce agreement that he pay for that. And it's causing all sorts of other problems in my life because it's actually really hard to function in modern society without internet or cell phone. Unfortunately, like there's a lot of places that have free Wi-Fi. Um, like there's even Shaw has like Shaw Open, and you can log in as a guest and have free access to the internet. But only in certain areas, and I seem to live in an area that really doesn't have it. So if I'm going to want to use the internet or use telephone or make a phone, send a text message or receive such messages, I have to like come out here um, and stand in the cold. Like I'm outside in a strip mall, stand in the cold to use the Wi-Fi. There's a Tim Hortons that has free Wi-Fi, but half the time their dining room is closed because they don't have enough staff. Minor pet peeve of mine is all the restaurants, the fast food restaurants that close their dining rooms but keep the drive-through open. And they say it's lack of staff, but they clearly have enough staff to run the drive-through. So I think it's a reflection of priorities. And it's interesting that so many of these places that do this, Wendy's, McDonald's, Tim Hortons, I mean, they're all bending over backwards to prove how woke and progressive they are. Yet you literally have to drive an automobile in order to access their restaurant, like half the time, if not like a lot of the time. So, how is that progressive? How is that inclusive? It's not inclusive. It's the opposite of inclusive. It's exclusive. It's excluding people who don't drive. Okay, so you really feel it when you need those kind of places for internet. Um, but that's actually not what I wanted to talk about. So, as horrendous as things have been in Kamloops, they continue to get worse. Um, and I'm desperately looking for housing for the past year that I've been living here. Um, and I went to a social service agency called Ask Wellness because I'm facing eviction currently. And my caseworker actually said that it's probably time for me to move back to Alberta. That's what she said. It's time for me to move back to Alberta. So I'm not from Alberta. I really don't have anything to do with Alberta. I've visited it a few times. Um, but like I'm not from Alberta, so I would, it just doesn't even make sense. She thought that I was from Alberta, but no, I'm not. I don't know where she got that idea from. I'm actually from Vancouver. Um, but could you imagine, like, let's say I was from Alberta. How is it appropriate to say that to someone? You should move back to Alberta. Like, would she say that to someone who is from another country? Let's say we were talking about someone who immigrated to Canada from China or India or some country in Africa, Egypt, say. Would the caseworker, and they're struggling with housing as an immigrant, would the caseworker say, oh, well, maybe you should move back to China? Maybe it's time for you to move back to China. I can't imagine that they would say that, right? Like, it would be so politically incorrect. But somehow it's okay to tell people to move back to their province where they're from within Canada. So it kind of reflects how, like, it's like there's more acceptance and support for like immigrants from other countries as opposed to people who are just migrants, like, but not immigrating from another country. There's migrating within the country, so moving around within Canada. There doesn't seem to be a lot of support for that. Um, Ironically, before I left, like, I've lived in Vancouver my whole life until just about almost a year ago now since I came here. And when I was there in Vancouver or the suburbs, it's all the same thing at this point. Oh my God, it's like traffic jam. In Vancouver, I was always being told, oh, well, you should move. Why do you feel so entitled to live in Vancouver? Well, because I'm from here. But then when you do move to another part of the country or another part of the province, just not even to another, I mean, still within the same province, it's not like it's that far away. When you do move, you're told, well, you should move back. Like, so one of the things that I wrote in my Make Vancouver Canadian Again meme that I got so much heat for is that it's like I have no country or home. Well, that's an example of it, right? Like, I come here and I'm told to move back to where I'm from, but where I'm from, I'm told, like, for years and years that I should not be there, I should move away because, like, I guess because Vancouver is so rich and it's so desirable, like, I don't know why it's so desirable, but, you know, good marketing, I guess, um, that it's just felt like, well, why should you, like, if you're struggling with the cost of housing, then you should move, right? But there doesn't seem to be very much recognition of place attachment and community attachment and familial attachment would all be barriers to moving from away from there. And it is my hometown where I am from since before it ever became a globalized, you know, insane city that it is now. Um, so I should have the right to stay there. But I should be able to move within Canada too. So I just think it's like pretty ridiculous, like to be told to move back to Alberta. Like what ignorance and what stereotyping? Like is it because of my politics that I'm being seen as just assumed that he must be from Alberta? Like um yeah, and what was the other thing I wanted to say about that? Um like Yeah, like why is there intolerance towards people who move within the country, but there's so much tolerance and acceptance. It's supposed to be to people who are moving to the country from other countries. It's come up a few times actually. It's come up from different sources as well, not just this one caseworker. I've noticed this attitude before. Like you're talking about the hardships that you're experiencing after relocating, and people are just like, well, why did you do it then? Like, why don't you just move right back? You know, so it's like I have no country. I'd have no country. I have no any. I'm told to leave the city where I'm from, and then the place where I go to, I'm told to leave that too. So it really sucks. Is what I want to say. Everything sucks, and one thing can be guaranteed: it's gonna suck even worse tomorrow because that's how my life goes.